Good afternoon and welcome to the show, the Matt Wallen Show on 99.3 U Central Radio. I'm Matt Wallen. With me is my partner in crime today because one of the real deals decided not to come in today. This seems to be like a running theme. Y'all text me right before the show ditching me. Ike had some work to do today for a different class. You had to study for a test.
Hey, it happens.
Last week. It does.
You know, it's like we say, at the end of the day, it is the Matt Wallen Show.
I know, but I can't do the show alone. Wait, I take that back. I had to one day by myself.
So you can do it. You can do it. You
but
just
I
gotta
don't
believe
like
in
doing
yourself.
it. I like companionship.
That's true.
I like
so
having
do I.
you around.
Yeah, I appreciate that.
You know, we have that bond, Brad.
Yeah. Well, this is getting weird, so let's move on.
Okay, it is. How's your week been so far?
Same old same. I've had a lot of stuff that I need to do that I haven't done. I've been pretty lazy, played some old video games, sat around the house, watched some sports a little bit, you know. I guess there's not a whole lot going on, but watched some movies, you know. Haven't really done what I'm supposed to do.
You gonna watch North Carolina and Duke tonight?
Well, it depends on how I feel when I get off work. You know, I might say, well, I have a lot of stuff to do, I should get around to it. Or if it's been like the last couple nights, yeah, I'll probably tune in and put that stuff off. You know, I got 2 more days. It
looks like it could be an interesting contest. You know, North Carolina, you would think, would win.
You would think, but it's a rivalry game.
Yeah.
You know, is it in Duke or is it?
Yeah,
that's what makes it interesting.
It's in Durham, I believe.
Because it's a rivalry game on the road, you know, to probably the biggest rivalry in college basketball. So, yeah, it's going to be an interesting contest.
My evening last night went better than the weekend. For anyone who tuned in on Monday and found out that I messed up on Valentine's Day, I got to redeem myself on Tuesday night because it was the girlfriend's birthday. She listened to Monday's show this morning because we have it on the blog. Is for anyone to know, you can always check it out at themattwallenshow.blogspot.com. And she listened to it and how I kind of ragged on myself for messing up. Well, I did mess up yesterday. I'm not going to lie. I might have at the beginning of the morning not remembered it was her birthday.
Okay.
And I text her like I normally do. I saw a funny picture on Twitter, sent it to her. She laughed. She went on. Took about an hour into the day. Then you know how on Facebook it pops up?
Yes, those things are lifesavers.
Let's say that it's someone's birthday.
You know, sometimes you get really annoyed because you're like, I barely talked to that person, but then it's like somebody important. You're like, oh, it is their birthday.
And you're like, words came to my mind that are not allowed on radio.
I've been there.
Oh, yeah.
Me.
So I text her, happy birthday, played it off. Oh, she knew immediately that I forgot.
Oh, yeah.
But I threw her a surprise birthday party last night that I've been planning for over a month. She loved it. She hates surprises. Mm-hmm. Everyone was there. It was a good night. So I think I'm out of the doghouse.
That's good. And while we're on the topic of birthdays, today is my mother's birthday.
It is.
Happy birthday, Mom. Love you. And I hope you have a good one. I'll see you later today, if you're listening. So
happy birthday, Mama J-Ro.
Mama J-Ro.
Mama J-Ro. Okay. Basketball. Something big's happening tomorrow, isn't it?
Something big, yeah. This is one of my favorite times of the spring because there's no football, there's no baseball yet, there's a little college basketball, but I love the NBA trade deadline because everybody just goes nuts, do they not? I mean, the media, the fans.
They do. Yeah.
Oh, we're going to get LeBron or, you know, maybe not somebody that big, but, oh, we're going to get Dwight. And there's all the speculation and people are just going crazy. And around 2 o'clock, it's just going to be crazy tomorrow. Today, we might see a few deals go down. So it's going to be a fun next couple of days, hopefully.
If you had to project one trade that you think will happen, what would it be?
I don't know where he will go, but I think that by 2 o'clock tomorrow, Dwight Howard is not going to be in Houston anymore.
Why do you say that?
Because we've seen how Dwight Howard is. You know, I think he voiced his frustrations with the offense earlier this year in Houston. He tends to get frustrated easily. He's kind of a diva, which hurts me to say that because he used to be one of my favorite players. But they don't want to be like the Lakers. The Rockets don't want to be like the Lakers where Dwight Howard walks and you get nothing for him. So I think the Rockets are going to try and flip Howard for at least a few assets to try and rebuild and get something back and hopefully stay as a playoff team from their perspective. So I think he could definitely be gone.
When you look at Houston and you see the pieces that they have, you would think they're better than they are.
You would think they're better, especially.
Are you putting all the blame on Howard?
I'm not putting
part of it on Harden?
I think a lot of it is on Harden because he's the leader of that team. And
doesn't play defense.
And I think he lacks a lot of accountability. I think he says, well, I'm doing my thing. I'm scoring, 28 points per game, but nobody else is doing their part. I think he's one of those guys who is not going to come out and say that he is carrying this team, but I think that's the way he feels, especially after last year. My general opinion on the Rockets is that they've really overachieved the last couple of years, especially last year. And now they're kind of falling back to earth. But I think it all starts with Harden. Howard is part of it too. I think there's a lot of personality dynamics coming into play here, where you're going to have some butting of the heads, so to speak.
Okay, a lot of stuff to talk about today, trades wise and all that. That's what the show's mainly about. Let's just look at trades that have already been completed so far. The one that really stood out yesterday, and it was the first one that I had heard of, was between Detroit and Orlando.
Yeah, that was a pretty interesting trade because you could really go either way on this one. A lot of trades are like this, but Matt, and who in your opinion won this trade? See, it's hard to...
I think realistically, Detroit did.
Detroit?
I think Detroit, because I looked at this morning, and let me just go ahead and brag about ESPN Trade Machine.
Okay.
I do love that.
That's fun. That's part of the fun.
It is a lot of fun. It really adds to the trade deadline experience, too. I looked at some stuff this morning on it, and they had already moved Tobias Harris over to the Pistons. But I think the Pistons are one move away.
I could see that.
Bench-wise, I didn't see anything on their bench I liked.
I agree.
Where do you think Tobias plays?
Yeah, that's an interesting thought.
Because they had Marcus Morris playing small forward.
Right.
And they had Tobias playing power forward for Orlando. So here's my thing. If you could trade Morris away,
right, and
go get someone, and the person that came to mind when I looked this up, I cannot think of his name. Walton, from Detroit or Denver?
From Denver. Oh, Gallinari?
No, not Gallinari. His backup.
Will Barton.
Will Barton.
That would be a great addition for them.
If they can make that work, I think that would
they can make some noise.
That would be the defining trade. And I read this morning they're looking for one more guard.
Yeah, I saw that too.
They're looking for a shooting guard.
Yep, I saw that same report. They're looking to make another move.
But in my mind, because I'm trying to think of the Detroit roster right now, see if we can pull that up. But does that not make sense?
Oh, it makes sense, especially when you consider, Tobias Harris he only shoots, I think, around 30% from three, so he's not going to really space the floor. And everybody's moved to this stretch forward mentality. It's all about space and pace, that sort of thing.
Yeah.
With Harris, you'd think right now it would make the most sense to put him in at power forward, but with him not being able to really, like a consistent shooter from outside, that could create the same spacing issues they had when Greg Monroe was their power forward with Drummond, and that's why they let him, walk to Milwaukee. So okay, think this. This would be your starting lineup if you get Barton, you said? Will Barton.
Will Barton.
Yeah.
Okay. I looked at his numbers. His numbers look good. I think he would really help.
This is a breakout year.
Yeah. Okay, imagine this. This would be your starting five. Reggie Jackson at the point. Caldwell Pope, shooting guard. Barton at small forward. Tobias at power forward. And Andre Drummond down low.
It's pretty good.
I think that could really compete in the East.
Oh, yeah. And you think the athleticism that Barton brings.
Exactly.
The explosion, that would be a great fit. And then don't they have Stanley Johnson coming off the bench?
Yes, they do.
I really liked him coming out of the draft. I think he's going to be a really good 3-and-D player. Probably not as good as Kawhi Leonard or Jimmy Butler, but that kind of player in that mold,
The other thing I might look at if I was Detroit, maybe a backup point guard. Current backup point guard Steve Blake, and Steve's getting up there.
Oh, yeah.
Well,
who was really good for them last year was DJ Augustine.
Yeah.
And obviously, he's completely fallen out of favor with OKC.
Would you trade DJ away? Because I would.
I would, 100%. And then absolutely. And then you bring in like a veteran or somebody as your third string point guard. I would, especially because he's an expiring contract. I mean, he's probably going to leave anyway somewhere where he can be the backup. It looks like Cameron Payne has a pretty firm hold on the backup spot in OKC. And I was really excited about Augustine when he came to OKC. And
I was too.
He did well when he first got here, but man, he's just really declined. So maybe he just needs to be back in Detroit where things are going well for him.
Yeah, I don't think there's room for him in Detroit.
As a backup point guard?
Backup? Maybe.
And then he's a pretty decent shooter from outside. You know, you could play him as a 2 in certain lineups. Of course, he's not very good defensively, but I mean, neither is Reggie Jackson. So, you know, most of your defense is going to come from Drummond anyway. But one thing, not to get off topic, but I think it's really interesting. I have the top team payrolls pulled up on a Hoops Hype here.
Okay, what do you got?
Cleveland is number 1 at $109 million.
But you know who they could cut easily at that? Mozgov. Yeah. That's because that's an expiring contract. We'll talk about that later in the show. We have all the contracts pulled up over here.
But you know who's number 2?
Who?
OKC, $99 million. They're about $800,000 short of being $100 million on payroll. Isn't that pretty crazy to think about?
Where's Golden State?
Golden State is number 4, and they have $93 million. The Clippers and Golden State are basically tied for 3rd at $93 million. And that's because they're paying Curry like $10 million or something ridiculous for the next 2 or 3 more years. So, yeah, it's just crazy to look at. You know, Oklahoma City, we're at $99 million, and we're good. You know, we're good, but we should.
I feel like we complain a lot for as good as we are. We
do.
Golden State has set the bar high.
I agree.
Really, really high.
Well, and we look back to that run to the finals, and we just kind of assumed, man, we're going to make it back, and it hasn't happened yet. Obviously, you have the circumstances of injuries and stuff, but that really set the bar high as well. And you agreed with Golden State, you know. I said this on my blog. The first year that they were championship good, they pretty much waltzed all the way to the championship.
I read your blog. We'll talk about this coming up. We'll take a quick break. It is 12:19, and you're listening to the Matt Wallen Show on 99.3 U Central Radio. And we're back. Welcome to the Matt Wallen Show on 99.3 U Central Radio. We're here talking NBA trades as the deadline is less. No, it's still over 24 hours. We're about, 24 and a half.
22.
25 and a half.
Around 24 hours away from.
Around.
Pretty close.
Around 25 and a half.
It's coming up, people. Get ready.
It's coming up. So we're talking some trades. We won't be on tomorrow. As always, you know, only Monday, Wednesday show. We got to work that out. Maybe we get podcasts going.
We should do that.
We should, yeah. Go all 5 days of the week. People get tired of us, though.
They get tired of you. I don't think they get tired of me.
Yeah, well. So, in other news, Brad's going to start the Brad J-Ro show because that's what he needs to do.
The real deal.
The real deal.
Hold down the real deal.
Would y'all make a spinoff of my show called The Real Deals next semester?
I don't know. I mean, I'm not going to be around this semester.
Well, Ike might.
I might.
You know, that was my original goal. Y'all just think I'm a power-hungry boss, but that was my original goal, is this will get passed on. Obviously, I expect to keep the name rights to the show since that's my name, but
yeah,
I could have the Real Deal Sports Show next semester.
That sounds good.
I like that.
That does sound really, has a nice ring to it.
It does. Okay, so back to basketball. We're looking at break, Brad, about the buzz going around, and Bulls are shopping Paul Gasol. What do you think?
I think that's really interesting. I think it's a little messed up because he signed there for less money to try and win a championship, and the only reason his contract is that attractive is because he wanted to play there. So I think it's a little.
But there's no guarantees in
no guarantees
in professional sports.
But I think if a guy takes less money to play for your team, I think you should respect that and honor that he wanted to be there. But I mean, he'd be a great piece. I mean, we've seen Pau Gasol, change the Lakers' destiny. So,
but this is why I think that they're going to do it. He is expected to decline the player option for him next year.
become a free agent again.
And become a free agent.
Well, I wonder too how, he must not think the Hoiberg is the guy, or that
I think Hoiberg needs to get his own people in.
Yeah.
It's going to be a different style. And the Bulls aren't that bad.
They're not that bad, but you got to look at it from Gasol's perspective. He's 35 years old. He wants to get back to that championship stage. There's probably better options out there for immediate contendership.
Where could you see him going?
First one that just comes to mind is Miami.
What could he do for Miami, though?
Well, I don't know if you've heard, but they're having trouble with Whiteside. I think they kind of want to get him out of there. But
really?
Yeah. Gasol and Bosch would be a really smart and good defensive front court for them.
And it seems, how old is Bosch?
He's only like 30, 31 years old.
Okay.
So he's not real old.
Because I'm thinking.
Plus, you consider he might miss the rest of the season. I don't know if you heard that. He's having trouble with his blood clot problem again.
I did hear that, actually.
So we all hope that he gets better. But in the meantime, Gasol would be a great fill-in for that presence down low for Bosch being out.
Okay, so say Gasol goes to the Heat. What does that do for the Heat right off the back?
First off, it brings more championship accolades. I actually saw a graphic the other day. Everybody from their finals teams is gone except for Wade, Bosch, and Haslam. So Gasol, he brings that championship experience. He brings the leadership. And you know that
Gasol didn't win a championship without Kobe and Bynum.
Kobe and Bynum didn't win a championship without Gasol. We could go around and around about this, but
I'm just
Gasol is a guy you can bring in, and he will do exactly what's expected.
Kobe won a championship without Gasol,
but he had Shaq.
Okay, I'm just saying.
But Gasol, Gasol had the Grizzlies in the playoffs. Kobe had the Lakers in the lottery by himself. That's all I'm saying. Well, I love Kobe. Don't get me wrong.
Okay.
But just saying. But back to Gasol. He brings exactly what he's going to do his job. He's going to bring good play. He's always going to bring it. He's not going to cause any trouble in the locker room. He's going to do what's asked of him. So I think it's a solid veteran. Maybe he won't go to Miami. Maybe he'll go to, he can't go to Cleveland. I think of contenders right off the bat. Not Golden State, you wouldn't think.
He wouldn't go to
He doesn't fit in with Golden State.
They're not going to make a move.
Yeah.
That roster won't be touched.
Well, not. I'm talking about in free agency this summer. Maybe, the Thunder had interest, but they have all the power forwards now. Cantor,
they don't need him. And we need to stretch.
I don't know where he would go.
See him play the 4 or the 5. I think they're going to expect him to play the 5.
I agree.
With where the NBA is going.
I agree with the small ball stuff. Yeah.
Yeah.
He's shown that he can't really stretch the floor.
So he'll stay at a 5. I'm trying.
Somebody who needs. What are the playoff teams?
I think New York, maybe?
New York, that would be interesting because of Phil Jackson. I actually like that move a lot. Him and Porzingis. Of course, then what happens to Robin Lopez? I guess he'd go to the bench.
Yeah.
But I actually like that move a lot with a triangle. Phil Jackson, he's familiar with the system. I think he'd probably go to the Knicks. That'd be interesting.
I can see that. Okay. Moving on. Let's see other trades going on. It has not been official, but Clippers are pushing closer to acquiring Orlando Magic's forward Channing Frye. Thoughts?
Well, it's just like we were talking about with the small ball thing and stretch fours. Channing Frye fits that mold. He was really good with the Suns as a stretch four, and he could bring a lot of good spacing and shooting to the Clippers that they really needed. And then in that deal,
that's the real interesting part. What's going to happen in this deal?
They're going to ship off Lance Stevenson,
but reports are Stevenson's never going to play a game.
Yeah, they're going to waive him and let him be a free agent, which we were talking during the break. I don't know if I really understand that. Yes, Stevenson is a bit of a head case, but he was 15, 7-7 guy for the Pacers, or a perfect glue guy for them 2 years ago. I think if you're the Magic, and you're probably not going to make the playoffs, hang on to him for a couple months, see if you can get him back to that. And, just if it doesn't work out, he leaves in the summer. So, of course,
I'd trade him, or I'd cut. Well,
but if you're
I get what you're saying.
Yeah,
I get what you're saying.
If you're the Magic, there's really no point to cut him. It's not like he's gonna bog your team down and keep you from.
What else would you give for Channing Frye?
Channing Frye.
Because for some reason I'm thinking draft pick.
I agree.
Maybe draft pick's gonna be needed. Because why would you trade someone away and then just cut the guy you get back?
clear salary cap space, I guess. But
who's going to want to go to Orlando?
They've actually been decent, and I don't know if you knew this. Tim Duncan almost went there in the early 2000s. Of course, they had McGrady, but that was a lot more attractive destination.
They are currently 23 and 29. They are technically not out of the playoff race. They are only 3.5 games out. Behind Charlotte.
They're not. I don't know. I have weird feelings about Orlando. I have a love-hate relationship with what they're doing right now, how they're building their team. So.
Okay. Also coming out with the Bulls are trying to make some moves. Taj Gibson. But do you think they're wanting too much? The Bulls are, because they're wanting a first-round pick and a player for Taj Gibson.
I think that's too much. I think we talked about this during the break. The first-round pick, if you're, say, the Clippers or somebody who's going to be picking in the late 20s anyway, I would give up just the first-round pick for Taj Gibson. But I don't know about giving up a player in a first-round pick, especially if you might be picking, fairly high, even in the mid-teens. That seems like a bit much for Taj Gibson.
I think. How old is Gibson?
He's like 30, around 30, I think.
I thought he was a little bit older.
28 to 30.
Let's see. We'll look it up right now. But depending on his age,
he's 30 years old.
He's 30
years old.
I nailed
it right on the dot. 30.
Okay.
Real deal.
He looks a little older, in my opinion, but I would make that move then.
Yeah.
I would.
He's a good bench big.
Yeah.
They're probably not a starter, but good energy guy.
So you say to the Clippers, maybe?
I mean, not now because they just got Channing Frye, but I was using that as an example. Maybe.
Who would you take, Channing Frye or Taj Gibson? Because either one's going to come off the bench.
Yeah. If I'm the Clippers, I'd probably take Channing Frye because you figure with Chris Paul, there's going to be a lot of driving kick action and, a lot of open three-pointers. Taj Gibson's more of a get offensive. Taj Gibson's kind of like Tristan Thompson.
I could see it.
So, yeah, offensive rebounds, putbacks, that sort of thing. So, I think Taj would be a good fit.
Speaking of Tristan, any chance the Cavs move him? But he has way too big of a contract.
Yeah,
in my
that contract
personal
is
opinion.
albatross. I don't think anybody want to get that contract because, I think he only averages 12 and 6 or something like that, or even if that. That's a guy who he looked awesome in the playoff run, and now he's all right, which is more in line with what his career is. So.
This just has nothing to do with trades, but it is rumors are coming out out of the NBA that Los Angeles is reportedly the favorite to host the 2018 All-Star Game.
Interesting.
Yeah.
That'd be fun.
I could see it. That'd be a lot of fun. All the stars show up. They'd already be in LA.
Yeah, exactly.
It could be a good one. Let's see. What else do we have on the list to talk about? What are some trades you would like to see?
One that I always go back to that I think would be pretty interesting would be Kevin Love straight up for Blake Griffin. Because the Clippers, you get a guy who can shoot, and hopefully you can use him more than the Cavaliers are. Sorry. And then Blake Griffin, you get that they want to pay at a fast pace. You get Griffin who can run a little point forward with LeBron, and he can dunk, and you figure alley-oops all day with those two and just making plays for each other. And the only thing from the Cleveland perspective is it doesn't give you a lot of spacing.
Yeah, that's the problem for me.
Yeah.
Is the spacing.
I think at that point, I saw Cleveland had interest in Kyle Korver, and Atlanta's looking to shop him.
That's supposedly the dream.
You'd have to get a shooter to put in your two-guard slot because with those guys and J.R. Smith, there's not enough balls to go around. I would probably, if I was the Cavaliers, I might look to trade J.R. Smith too, just because I don't think he's consistent enough to warrant a big role in this team. He was good for him last year, don't get me wrong, but I think it fits in with J.R. Smith's career arc to, do really well for a while, but then kind of fizzle out and kind of fall back to earth, right?
You mentioned Korver, and he's with Atlanta, and you think about Atlanta, we've heard talks about Teague, Horford, about moves being made there. They're currently 4th in the East. Why would they shake up their roster so much?
That's a $1 million question. That's really interesting. I think Atlanta is probably they're in a bit of an identity crisis right now because last year, they won.
They had a great year.
They won 60 games, and they were the top seed in the East, but then they got swept in the conference finals. So you're where you want to be, you're not where you want to be. You know, they must just be worried that they can't keep all these guys like Horford, like they're going to go somewhere else. I heard one interesting thing. We talked about Dwight Howard earlier in the show. Howard is an Atlanta native, and there's been some talk of him going there in a deal, which could be interesting. But, I mean, we'll see. We'll see. But Atlanta, I'm not sure what their thinking is right now.
I don't see it either. I still think they could pull out the East. I'm not sold Cleveland wins the East. I think Boston is one move away from
one star.
One move.
Yeah.
We'll talk about that possible move right after the break. It's 12:35. You're listening to the Matt Wallen Show on 99.3 U Central Radio. Welcome back to the show. This is the Matt Wallen Show on 99.3 U Central Radio. Brad, what were you about to say?
Well, yeah.
You decided to talk right before we go back on and go, you know what would be interesting?
We were talking about where Rajon Rondo might end up this summer. And I initially said he'd probably go back to the Kings. And then we were like, well, I don't know. They're like, maybe the Lakers. Interesting thought. But I was just thinking, it'd be interesting. Tony Parker is getting older with the Spurs.
Yeah.
Rajon Rondo with the Spurs, the only person he might respect enough would be Pop to keep him in check, because Rondo's butted heads with all kinds of coaches and stuff. Popovich would be like the one, say, hey, really like keep him in check. And then he'd be, strictly from a skill standpoint, he'd be perfect in their system because Parker's not really a three-point shooter either. He's not a jump shooter, but Rondo is a guy who can run your offense, and he would be perfect for the Spurs system. But for the personality thing is the biggest variable.
Do you think the Spurs are trying to find the next group of players to fit in their system?
I think so, because
I think they found
their next
first piece in Aldridge.
Their next Tim Duncan, but he's not as good as Tim Duncan.
He's not, but
Aldridge is pretty good.
Aldridge, and now they need a point guard because they already have Leonard.
Mm-hmm.
Leonard.
Yeah, a point guard.
And maybe a shooting guard come off the bench.
Yeah, like the new Ginobili.
Like Ginobili. As a driver.
Right.
So that's what I'm thinking. They can position people around them, and they'll be fine.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Okay. I could see that. Before we went to break, we had talked about how the Celtics were one move away. A lot of people think they need a big man. I agree with that.
I agree with that, too.
A lot of people we heard the name Cousins come out.
Mm-hmm.
Sacramento, we can't see Sacramento trading Cousins. But, we like to play what if.
Yeah.
We like to think it. And Brad, yesterday, I was throwing out trade ideas. And Brad texts me and goes, see if you can make a deal happen to get us Archie Bradley.
Avery Bradley.
Avery Bradley. Archie Bradley, baseball player. Plays
Avery.
for the Diamondbacks. My bad, Archie. Avery Bradley plays for the Celtics. I don't see them giving him up.
I don't either.
Because he just had a game winner against Cleveland.
Well, he's a great piece for them. So
yeah, he is. But I made the trade work, a 3-team trade, which did go through the NBA trade machine, or ESPN trade machine, however you want to refer to it to, and tell me what you think. And the Kings are crazy. They're going to fire.
They could do it.
They're going to fire him.
Yeah. They're going to fire Carl.
Carl's going to be gone at the end of the season. Might be gone before the end of the season. Okay. This trade, though, because of expiring contracts, would open up $19.2 million next year for the Kings to go get free agents. And there's some good free agents going to be out there. We're looking at the list right now.
Pau Gasol is one we were just talking about.
Yeah, Pau.
A lot of guys
Al Horford.
Horford, that's a good one.
Batum. Let's see. Okay, we'll just get Joakim Noah, too.
Okay.
But let's talk about the trade real quick. In this trade, the Thunder... And go ahead, it's crazy, and we don't think it's going to happen, but we like to think about it.
It's fun to think about. Might be a little one-sided, but that's okay.
The Thunder could get DeMarcus Cousins, Avery Bradley, and in that, the Celtics would get Cantor and Waiters, and the Kings would get David Lee and Steven Novak.
But the Kings, I added later on, they should get some several draft picks.
So the draft pick that would really, I think, would seal this deal up, and I don't know if it would seal it up, but the draft pick that they need to get would be from Boston, because Boston currently has who is it? Brooklyn's,
and it's like in the top pick. 3, I think.
Yes, it's in the top 3 right now. So imagine that.
That'd be enticing for the Kings. At that point, I think it becomes a little weak for Boston. It just depends. I don't know how other people.
Boston, would you not pull that off? That makes you
pretty
next
good
to the favorite to win the East.
Pretty good. I just wonder. I just don't know how other people feel about. I don't know how other teams feel about Cantor. I just don't know how they feel. And I think if Boston was going to make a move for a big man, they'd want somebody who plays some defense.
I agree with that.
That's another big thing that.
I agree. I could see that. I just look at that move, and once again, the trade machine loved it. It gave it 7+ wins. It would add 7 wins to their roster, to their current roster, I guess they have.
But who knows what it would do for the other ones? Did it say?
What, for everyone else?
Yeah.
It would improve OKC by 2, and it would demote Sacramento only by 1.
Huh. What about Boston?
It moved Boston up 7 wins.
Wow.
7+ wins.
Interesting.
You know that one I had earlier with Will Barton?
Yeah.
It moved Detroit up 7 wins.
That's pretty awesome. You're pretty good at this trade.
Yeah, I kind of got an idea. But imagine this would be the lineup if they pulled it off. The starting lineup would go Isaiah Thomas. Avery Bradley's gone, so starting at shooting guard, you'd either have Waiters or Evan Turner.
What about Marcus Smart?
Marcus Smart, you could start, but he's the backup point guard right now.
Nah, okay.
Okay. And then you would have Jay Crowder at small forward. Power forward, you'd have Amir Johnson, and then you would have at center Cantor.
And then their bench is really good, so that'd be
Kelly Olynyk, Tyler
Zeller. They have a really
Zeller.
deep team.
Yeah. I'm just saying, I think that's the trade. You can call me crazy, but I think that's the trade that would put Boston over the top. And I mean,
we know it's probably not going to happen.
It's not going to happen.
It's not going to happen. But how crazy if it did. It's one of those things.
We predicted it. I predicted it.
That would be...
Okay. And since we like to have fun, let's go ahead and talk about what the Thunder starting lineup would be.
Yeah.
Russell Westbrook.
Boom.
Avery Bradley.
Yep.
Kevin Durant.
Uh-huh.
Serge Ibaka.
Ooh.
And DeMarcus Cousins.
Yeah.
My only problem is Ibaka.
Whoa, man, Ibaka, come on.
I want Ibaka gone.
Well, have you seen how bad we've been without him, dude? Come on.
I want him gone.
I'm not in that.
I know you aren't.
I'm not in that mindset.
We have some other trades. We'll go through the trades real quick that we came up with. Another 3-team trade that we had possibly working out. Thoughts? Thunders, Grizzlies, and Kings in a 3-way trade that would give the Thunder Jeff Green, Ben McLemore. Grizzlies get DeJuan Waiters, Darren Collison, and then Quincy Acey. And the Kings get Serge Ibaka and Jordan Adams. That, I think, is a more doable trade.
More doable, but like I said in my text response, I just don't see how it makes the Thunder much better.
Because what they're getting is a stretch 4.
But
Jeff Green will play better on ball defense than Serge Ibaka in my opinion.
He might play better on ball defense, but I think your nostalgia might be making you overrate Jeff Green a little bit. Because
I love Jeff Green. I'm not going to lie. I know you do.
But are you aware? I don't know if you're aware. Green is shooting 30% from 3.
I don't need him to shoot 30. Shoot the 3.
We talk about him being a stretch 4. That's
we can stretch it out if he needs to, but he can also drive.
Yeah, but when I think stretch 4, I think stretches the floor with shooting.
Yes.
He only shoots 30%.
I need someone that can stretch the floor on defense. That's what I'm more worried about. Because offensively, we're fine production-wise. And he also is a better rebounder than Ibaka. You can't.
We could pull this up.
Okay, look it up.
But I do know that Ibaka's a better 3-point shooter than Green.
Okay.
So.
But I don't need Ibaka setting in the corner and shooting threes. Ibaka's size, what I need him to do is work on a down low post game and give me something.
Ibaka's what, 27? We just have to accept that that's not what he is. He's not going to be like that.
Okay, you pull up the numbers right now, and I'll go through the rest of these trades.
Okay.
My first trade, which is no longer valuable, that I wanted, because Courtney Lee is now a Hornet in Charlotte, would have been Green and Lee for Ibaka and Waiters. Yeah, I know.
I just feel like other teams would value Ibaka more given his ability to block shots because, I mean, as much as we...
But that's all he can do. He is a good offside defender.
Okay.
But he cannot guard on the ball.
But you don't know how good you got it until it's gone.
Okay.
And when the Thunder didn't have Ibaka a couple years ago in the playoffs, they fell apart.
Okay. Next move, and I know you're not really big on this one either, but getting Al-Farouq Aminu, yes, and Alan Crabb for Ibaka and Waiters.
Say that again. Sorry.
Okay, so you get Aminu, Crabb, Alan Crabb, Ibaka and Waiters. Once again, the move is...
I like Aminu a lot.
Aminu would be down low, and he's someone who could shoot better from three.
He'd be a great defender. Okay, so I pulled up Green and Ibaka's stats.
Okay.
Ibaka averages 6.7 rebounds. Green averages 4.5.
Okay. So I'm slightly off on the rebounds.
Yeah, but I don't know. I'd have to look at advanced stats to see, the rebound percentage. But I think Ibaka's a better rebounder than Green, brother.
I need to think about.
You love Jeff Green. It's fine.
I will admit I love Jeff Green. And I'm fine with any of these other trades. Aminu, the next one.
Aminu would be a good target.
Thunder trade with the 76ers. Get Robert Covington and Hollis Thompson for Dion and Kyle Singler.
That'd be good. I don't see anybody taking Singler.
I don't see it either. But in that, you would get to keep your
core.
Yeah, you would get to keep your boy Ibaka over there, and you could take Ibaka out and put Covington in at the 4, and then could match up when you have to play someone of the stretch.
Another thing about Jeff Green too is, hey, if they like him that much, just sign him this summer.
Well, they could.
They'd have to. They're over the cap, so they have to use the mid-level exception or whatever. But I mean, if he liked OKC enough and it was a good enough fit, just do it that way.
Okay. Here is the trade that you really liked. Number 4, with the Knicks. Thunder get Langston Galloway, Jose Calderon, and the Knicks get Waiters and DJ Augustine.
Pretty good. And you might have to throw in some picks and stuff, but yeah, Calderon would be a good third-string point guard. Langston Galloway, he's a good three-point shooter.
Yeah. Size-wise, I think he would really
help on defense.
Yeah.
Yeah, he'd be a great bench piece for sure. I actually like that trade a lot as far as a smaller move goes.
That move right there increased the Thunder's wins by a projected 3 wins.
Wow. Yeah, that'd be good. One thing I want to say, though, about the Thunder that's interesting about the trade deadline, I got to give credit. I read Royce Young's Daily Thunder blog, and I read the comments because a lot of the people on there are actually really knowledgeable and really keep up with the Thunder.
Yeah.
And they're actually talking about, somebody brought up the fact that Ingrid Williams, Monty's wife, her funeral is tomorrow at 2, which is exactly
at the trade deadline.
Yeah, and you would expect Sam Presti and all the guys are going to be there, as they should.
Yeah.
So you would think that if the Thunder is going to make a move, it would happen sometime today. I mean, right? Wouldn't you expect that?
Yeah, you would.
So that's another thing to think about. That's interesting. So
it's a true statement.
So
out of respect, that's something interesting to think about because
given just the severity,
because you would turn your phone off.
Oh yeah, and the seriousness of the situation, maybe it's not the right time. If they were on the fence of making a move, they're just going to say, you know what, we've been through so much in the past couple of weeks as an organization. Our coaching staff and our players have been through so much. Let's just keep things how they are. You know what I mean? So it might be an indicator that they're not going to.
I think that upsets some people, though.
As far as not doing something?
Yes. because that has been the problem with this organization. They have not been able to make moves to get better. And you mentioned how we kept thinking we would get back to the finals after we did in 2012. And so moves were always made, and teams continued to get better as the Thunder did not move up at all.
Yeah. Well, I think from their standpoint, maybe they're confident in the trade they made last year, and they think that it's going to pan out, which the only one who's really worked out has been Cantor, despite defense. But we'll see. One thing we talked about, over the phone and, during the breaks is if they don't make a trade, another option is buyout candidates. If Lance Stevenson and Joe Johnson and Kevin Martin
agreed
are waived.
He doesn't fit.
Who?
In OKC.
Stevenson?
Yes.
Yeah, that was just a name I threw out there. But Kevin Martin has been rumored to possibly get bought out, and so is Joe Johnson. I just looked up the numbers.
That's a lot of money for Joe Johnson.
Well, the thing is, you bring him in on if he wants to compete for a championship, you bring him in on a cheap deal like they do.
No, but to buy him out is what I'm saying.
Yeah,
that's a lot of money.
But it might be worth it for the Nets with all their luxury tax penalties and all the things they've been doing. I mean, you never know.
So you think he goes to where? You think the Nets buy him out?
I think the Nets buy him out, and then he goes somewhere else. And if you're looking at in the scope of the Thunder, since we're on the top of the Thunder, I mean, I just looked up the numbers. He's shooting 37% from three, which is not bad. It's in line with his career average.
How good of a defender is Joe Johnson, in your opinion?
I've always felt like older players are actually better at defense than younger players. And I think if you put Joe Johnson into the Kyle Singler role, he would actually be better than Singler, which isn't saying much.
I would be better than Kyle Singler.
That's true. But just looking at the numbers, I mean, Joe Johnson, I haven't looked at the advanced stats for his defense, but he has like a 10 PER. Singler's is like 7 or 8. So it'd be a slight upgrade. It'd be an upgrade, maybe only slight. But Joe Johnson is, a 3-and-D type guy, could be good. And then another guy I mentioned was Kevin Martin, got bought out. He already has familiarity with the organization. He got one last payday from Minnesota. If he gets bought out, he might want to come here and try to get a ring.
And you pointed out how that statistically we were better with Martin than we were with Harden.
Yes. During the regular season, of course, we actually had a historical margin of victory. Martin was a great fit, really helped our team, our offensive rate. I don't remember what it was, but I think we were tops in the league. But, of course, the whole Patrick Beverley thing in the first round completely torpedoed that season. So we never got to see if they could actually win the championship. But they were well on their way to probably making it back to the NBA Finals that year. Martin has declined since then, obviously, but again, the familiarity with the organization, he can still shoot threes. He could come off the bench in spots, but at the same time, you think about it, I mean, Morrow is basically the same player as Martin at this point, so you wonder, I mean, you can never have too many shooters, in my opinion, but something to think about.
Okay, some people, once again, that have expiring contracts. Tell me what you think. Al Jefferson, Charlotte.
Interesting.
Let's see. David Lee, Boston. That's one reason we think he could get traded pretty easily.
Yes, clear cap space for somebody.
Yes. Al Horford, Luol Deng, Rajon Rondo, Mike Conley. That's an interesting one.
Mm-hmm.
Jeff Green, OJ Mayo. How about Bradley Beal? He's a first-round pick, though, so they'll have the rights to re-sign him.
Yes. I don't think there's any way the Wizards let him get away.
Let's see. Jamal Crawford.
Interesting. I'd have to look up his stats because if I remember right, he's been going downhill for the last 2 or 3 seasons. And he's up there. I thought he was younger than he was. He's like 36, 37 years old.
Yeah.
So.
I could see that. Let's see.
I wonder if it would be hard to get Luol Deng. I wonder what the Heat would want for Luol Deng. Isn't that interesting? He can play some defense. He's an okay shooter. I mean.
Yeah.
He's a good two-way player.
What do you think about Evan Turner next year?
The Thunder, I think, have looked at him in the past. Could be a good get. He's been pretty good for the Celtics, right?
Yeah. I like him. I think he could come in. I think money's about right if it stays where it is. Another one. Well, he's first-round pick. He'll be resigned. Never mind. I was going to say Harrison Barnes, but he's first-round pick. His contract will be up. He won't be let go. Raymond Felton. Dallas.
That doesn't do a whole lot for me.
It doesn't?
Nah. Plus, he's had some issues off the court, hasn't he?
Yeah.
So, yeah.
trying to think. None of these other names.
What's going to happen to Ty Lawson in Houston?
I heard he get trade. What was the trade I heard? Lawson.
He might be included in a Howard deal, don't you think?
He could be. Where did I hear he was going to go?
Who needs a point guard?
Because I read it this morning.
Orlando doesn't anymore because they got Jennings.
Pick up Perkins next year.
That's who Boston should get. They're one piece away. Bring back
Kendrick Perkins.
The Perk. NBA champion.
Tyler Hansbrough, man. You can pick him up next year.
Where's he playing?
Charlotte. Back home in North Carolina. Where times were good for him. Yeah, I see no one else on here that does. You know how much Langston Galloway's making, by the way?
I'm going to guess $3 million.
Less than $1 million.
Wow. So he's due for a payday.
Yeah, he'll be a free agent next year.
I mean, it's not like he's some superstar, but he'll make a lot, especially.
You think they bring him in?
Who, the Thunder? Or?
Thunder could?
I don't know. I don't know how, because all this stuff is so complicated. I don't know exactly who they could bring in, but that'd be an interesting name.
Well, we're out of time, Brad. So before we go, give one projected draft.
Trade.
Yeah, trade. Draft. Oh, it's been a long day.
Trade, draft, that's long.
Yeah, same thing.
I see Howard gone to Atlanta.
Okay, and who do they get back?
Oh, interesting.
Do you send...
would they get Horford in that deal?
Well, here's my question. Do you send Lawson and them and try to get Teague and Horford back?
That's interesting. I don't know. I think Horford for Howard would be interesting because it'd help both sides. I mean, fairly equal trade. I don't know.
My guaranteed trade is Lee is out of Boston, I think. David Lee. Yeah, they get David Lee out of Boston.
I agree. What about the Thunder? Name one player you think will for sure be gone off the Thunder after tomorrow. I say Steve Novak because the expiring contract makes a lot of money for a guy who doesn't play. Or the most likely player to not be on the roster after tomorrow.
Probably Novak.
Novak, too.
I want Ibaka.
Yeah.
That's just me. But it's been fun. Be sure to tune in Monday. Tune in the Twitter. We have a new Twitter. It's the same one, but we changed the name. Instead of _MW_show, it's just MW_show.
Little less underscore.
Yeah, little
less confusing.
Email us at themattwallenshow at gmail.com and check out the blog themattwallenshow.blogspot.com. Tune in Monday and we'll talk all about what happened in the weekend in sports. It's been fun, guys. Have a good one.
Have a good week, guys.
KZUC LP Edmond.
Your station 99.3.
Celebrating 125 years of excellence at UCO.
You play the best music.
Can't get it anywhere else.
UCO's best mix.
New Central Radio.